Sara Bareilles, Girls5eva goes on tour in season three. Lots of misadventure and mishaps and tooth gummies. But what was your craziest story from your early days on the road?
Oh my God, they're just what isn't a crazy story? One of the first things that comes to my mind is that we got this gig opening for an artist who was kind of just breaking on the American scene. He's a British artist named Mika, and we got the opportunity to open it for him. He was really having a moment, and so he was playing basically just all big cities. He was playing LA and San Francisco, Chicago, Miami, New York, maybe one other place. Um, so he was flying to all of these gigs and we could not afford flights, so we were driving and we were basically not sleeping. It was my band and I literally changing drivers mid highway, like just would rotate and just we just would only stop to get gas. That's all we had time for. So we left after our show in San Francisco and drove straight through the night for 2 days to get to Chicago for the next first sound check. And um but honestly, it's some of the like most joyful memories I have, even though they were completely chaotic and sort of terrifying. You were just, you're like, this
Yeah,
is
you're
where I got,
starting out. Yeah, this is where you
yeah,
start. Yeah, you needed a John Lutz. You needed a Percy.
I
Around. Yeah.
absolutely. My best friend Chad was on the road with us, and he's no longer with us, but he
Oh,
he actually was kind of a Percy. He was
nice.
our beloved, yeah,
Everyone needs a Percy. Yeah. So
yeah.
you probably didn't stay at a divorced dad Sweetlets
We
anywhere.
stayed pretty close. I mean, we were looking for the cheapest possible hotels. Like we would call them like the murder rooms. Like we would absolutely, you're checking for dead bodies before you're like
You know
getting.
what? Gloria would love that.
She would love that.
She
She'd be
would.
all about
Yeah.
it.
Well, I love Dawn's journey this season because she's always been the practical one and puts the group first. But this season, like in the fourth episode, she learns it's okay to want something and to
Yeah.
say it out loud and not be ashamed of it. So was this like, did you and Meredith Scardino discuss her arc before the season started?
We didn't discuss it in terms of the design of the arc. I mean, I think that's something that I love about Meredith's writing is she's so intuitive and she's so smart. And um, one of the things I love about this season for Dawn is that her pregnancy is just one of the many things that she's going through and feeling. And I really love that we get to see her complicated feelings around their past. Um, but I just love that she remained, you know, a complex character in spite of this very huge new, life event that's going on for her. Um, but I thought that was a really smart um, evolution for Dawn, for sort of like the grounded one to sort of go through this crisis of identity and not have it be about motherhood. Like I thought that was just a really brilliant. That was a brilliant.
Yeah, and it was nice because like you guys don't ignore it in the season at
Right.
all. Like, she goes to the OBGYN in Beaumont. Like,
Exactly. John
and yeah,
brilliant.
but it's not something she's still pursuing her dream,
Exactly.
while she's pregnant. Yeah.
That's one of the things that seems to be so present for Meredith in general is that it's fun to see women in their 40s and 50s who are not on the sideline or not feeling the need to be settled in some way, but actually asking the questions of like, what do I want and what am I willing to try to go and create for myself? I just think
Mhm.
those are great questions to ask.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like you were saying with like her complicated feelings with her past, like you see that in the fourth episode because I really loved it because it digs into, one of the hooks of the show, which is Y2K nostalgia.
Yes.
And she meets this fan and, Dawn is like, oh, our problematic songs made her the way she is. And she's like, no, I like them because it reminds me of a simpler time. So I thought that was such a great way of recognizing why we love nostalgia while also acknowledging that it's not always great stuff in the past.
Yes, it's probably complicated like everything, right? Like everything is the gray matter in between, what we think of as black and white. And yeah, I think I feel that way too. It's like there's very kind of problematic things that still somehow bring me comfort from the past, but it's just because it does elicit these memories of being of a certain age and when your life was less complicated, or you had that kind of optimistic naivete. You just didn't know as much as you know now. And once you've seen things, it's hard to unsee them. So it's a sweet kind of, it's a bittersweet reminder.
Hmm. When she says she's not nostalgic for the 2000s, do you think she's just in denial, or do you think she has genuinely suppressed those feelings that she doesn't even realize she has them until Taffy calls her out?
I think that I think she really is in conflict around that. I think she has kind of grown up enough to see how used and abused they were. But at the same time, that sense of like, what if you just put all of that down for a minute and just enjoy running around and dancing on stage and singing in front of people who are singing the music back to you? I mean, there's something so sort of simple and beautiful about that. And I think it's both. I think that she can recognize like this is complicated and I love it. And that's okay, you know.
Yeah, yeah, because it's true. Because like Taffy says, like she is also chasing that high of their fame from back then. Like she liked the Dawn back then too. Yeah.
Totally. And I think what I love about this season is where they end is kind of like, with this newfound knowledge and experience of just her age and her perspective, they're not actually chasing the same dream, but the dream changes. And the dream now is like somewhere in the middle. Can we be ourselves and can we love where we're at in the medium time and not always be fixated on the next mountaintop? Can we enjoy what we've created and reap the fruits of our labor? Um, but also, yeah, like that the dream can be a, a gentler one in some ways. I think that's also a beautiful message.
I love the whole concept of medium time. When Richard Kind started explaining it, I was like, yes, exactly.
I'm all about that too. Yeah.
Yeah. And you always write these bangers in the season finales of like 4 stars and then not break. But I have to say, medium time is my favorite one. Of
Oh, thank
those.
you.
It's yeah, it's like you said, like it's such a nice message and it's a great song. But like how does that like the process come about when you write the finale songs? Like does Meredith call you up and it's like this is the theme of the episode and this the kind of song we need?
Usually I've been given like a good bit of runway. Like we'll sort of know what we're aiming for. The writer's room is so great about getting these scripts ready early. And so um I'll usually have a nice amount of time to kind of gestate and think on the idea. But Meredith is an amazing lyric writer and just has a very clear vision. I mean, it's a really nice balance. Like I feel very invited to engage and play creatively, but I also the assignment is really clear, which is so nice. There's a lot of luxury in the clarity of that idea. And I came to her after I had started writing this song and I was like, I think it might not be funny. Like it's like not, it doesn't feel like a very funny moment to me to sing about this idea of just like being in the middle. It actually feels like sort of sweet and compassionate. And she's like, I don't think you need to work. Like, then it's not funny. It's just really, it's so, what a gift to get to work on a show that makes so much space for yes, hard comedy and like straight up just jokes on jokes on jokes, but then also have like some room for heart and sincerity. So we were emotional around the piano when we were shooting that scene because it's also been the journey of this show and sort of like we were living in this kind of unknown place about what's the future look like and we all love making it so much. So it really felt like in this moment of not knowing what's in our future, can we be happy for where we're at? So it
Mhm.
was just like it was very meta.
Yeah, there's a lot of meta messaging in the show. It's like a lot of second chances and well,
Yes.
do you often feel that pressure like I have to make the song funny because they like between Meredith and Jeff Richmond just hilarious songs left and right.
Just,
Like
yes.
yeah.
Well, I think that what I've learned to do is sort of trust that if it needs to be, I've learned to trust that they will help shape it into whatever it needs to be. Great faith in that team. So I try to just sort of do what I do truthfully, and then if it needs shaping, we can shape it together. But it more often than not has not been about like make the songs funnier, because there's so much density in the comedy that it's actually, and I think it's kind of nice once in a while to have a song that is might have a funny line or two, but really is more about just writing a song. And so that's been really fun for me.
Yeah, for sure. Well, do you when you have to write songs for characters like Girls 5eva or, even Meryl Streep on Only Murders in the Building, because you co-wrote Look for the Light, like do you approach that differently? Like this is not for me, Sarah.
I think my approach is actually for the writing, it's helpful for me to think about it for myself, like just to try to focus in on creating a song that I would love to sing, like
Mhm.
just and just start there. And then in terms of character, I always say that it feels like a an exercise in radical empathy. Like you're trying to find your way into the consciousness and the psyche of a person who is not yourself. But as a storyteller and as a songwriter, I'm so used to writing from my own perspective that it's about finding the connections there. And that's been a really fun thing. Like I don't have kids, but writing a lullaby for Meryl Streep to sing to these children in a bassinet, that's a an image I can conjure, and that's a sense, feeling I can try to relate to and speak about what does it mean to feel a mother's love and to be steadfast and always want to be a port in the storm for someone. um, that all makes total sense to me. So yeah, and then with the girls, it's been so fun because as I've gotten to know the characters season by season, and knowing the women who are embodying these women, there's just so much depth and richness to that, because I love Busy and Paula and Renee so much. We're just such close friends, on top of loving their characters that they've created as well. There's just a lot to draw from, so it's really fun to write for the show.
Mhm. Do you have a favorite season 3 song for you guys?
um I, oh god, we had a lot of fun with Thomas Doherty, who had this song, the sweater song, which was really fun. We had a couple of songs that we learned for the big medley that, like, I'm not sure if they even made it into the. We had a song about Ann Dowd that we
Yeah.
learned that is so funny and so good. And I
We
don't
we need the full version of that then.
Yeah. So that was one of my favorites, but I can't, they're conflated. Like my memory of like either learning the song or spending the time singing with my friends. That's part of why I love the song. So Medium Time for me kind of remains a really special moment, because it was
Yeah.
just a really emotional kind of like end of the season, and we were sort of didn't know if we were saying goodbye or not.
hmm I'm also partial to Sweet Low Daddy, which is the problematic song.
Hannah. Hannah's just like so good. It's
Oh
so
my
bad
God.
and good.
Well, are you nostalgic for anything from the 2000s like Taffy is for you guys?
I mean, I love pop music. I think
Mhm.
it was a really fun time for like really like slick crafted pop
Yeah.
songs. And
Max Martin songs all the way.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. I just think that was a really fun time if you really like for super hooky melodic rhythmic pop songs. And so yeah, I do. I love that. And I've actually, there's like, I feel like there's resurgence in that. I feel like Dua Lipa is a great example of someone who's like doing this thing in a new modern way, but is essentially like they're just really hooky, great pop songs. Um, but it was such a complicated time for me emotionally, because I was like wrestling with wanting to enter into the industry and starting to play music, and I was dealing with so much insecurity and stuff. Like, I don't want to go back. I wouldn't want to go
Just like
back.
thinking about it and listening to
Yeah, I'm
the
happy to
song.
like laugh at all of the hemp necklaces I was wearing and a lot of chokers and all my headscarves and just like my horrible choices.
Well, what is medium time for you?
I feel like in a lot of ways, that is kind of how I operate in my life, in a way that feels really great for me. Like I am so happy with the way my career has bloomed. I feel like I get to work on really incredible projects, but I don't have to sacrifice. I feel like I have a nice balance. I have a really rich home life and a wonderful partner and a dog that sleeps at my feet when I'm doing interviews, um and I also get to make things that I love. And so I feel really lucky. Every time I see, it's hard not to the compare and despair
Hmm.
kind of
Like I want
trap.
that. I want what the
Yeah,
company.
it's insidious, and it doesn't matter how much success you've had. You just like that is a real kind of threat at times to fall into that place of like, oh, but I'm not at Coachella and I'm not playing, like that. It's really easy to start to do that. I'm so happy with what I have, and I'm so grateful for the place that I am in my life and the environment I live in and what I'm able to do. So I my this is I'm in the medium time, and
You're Richard Kind. You're
I'm much more
constantly
kind.
working, but you're
Yeah,
never bugged at the deli. So
that's exactly right.
I love obviously all the pop culture spoofs in the show. And this season, Dawn is just binging your version of The Crown. But last
Yeah.
season, she was all about Business Throne. So what happened to Business Throne in the world of Girls 5eva? Did that also end like Succession did?
Oh God, unanswered. Maybe we'll get into it in season 4. I don't know.
Who
Yeah,
ascended the throne? Who ascended the Business Throne? We need
I'm
to
gonna
find
have to ask Meredith. This is above my pay grade. I don't know.
out. Well, yeah, so fingers crossed for season 4, but we do leave on a cliffhanger. It seems like they'll do the song for the female Garfield movie. So what are your hopes for season 4?
Well, I think it would be fun to see the girls deal with a modicum of success and what that looks like. And yeah, I feel I hesitate to even offer anything because I'm just so curious to see where Meredith's brain will go. And she fascinates me so much. I think for Dawn it will be about now juggling 2 children. Um, and even though it was so fun to be on the road this season. I did miss getting to work with Daniel Breaker, who
I
plays
wanted
my
more of Scott.
yeah.
I love their
I
dynamic.
want more of Scott singing as well.
Yes,
Um,
great voice.
yes. Oh my God, unbelievable. So I there were pieces about the family life that I did miss, but I really love this sweet spot of like where the women are multifaceted. They are dealing with their career and their lives like most people are demanding and asking for their attention, and there's a lot of juggling that happens, and I always think it's just very relatable. So I hope we get to see them deal with a little more success and what comes with that, and then
Still
kind of
medium
that,
time.
what that means. Yeah.
So, yeah. A little taste of the big time and then
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
Well, fingers crossed for season 4, like I said. It was great speaking with you, Sarah. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you. Yeah, fingers crossed, and thanks so much for taking the time.